Welcome back to Valuable Coins. Today we're exploring the most valuable Indian head 1 cent coins, and these rare cents are selling for $600,000 each. If you thought old pennies were worthless, think again, because these coins are some of the most expensive and rare in the world. Stay tuned as we reveal the exact dates, condition, and why collectors are paying insane prices for them. First up today is a truly exceptional piece, a United States Indian head 1 cent, dated 1862, large date, without mint mark, preserved in circulated chocolate color condition, a coin whose surface tells a story older than most modern nations and whose value in today's auction market exceeds $500,000. The year 1862 sits at one of the most dramatic crossroads in American history. The United States was deeply entrenched in the Civil War, with uncertainty gripping every level of society. Copper shortages were common, hoarding was widespread, and everyday coinage often disappeared from circulation as people saved whatever hard money they could find. In this environment, the Indian head cent was not a collectible or a keepsake. It was a tool of survival, passed hand to hand in markets, rail depots, military camps, and rural towns. The 1862 Indian head cent was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, the only mint producing cents at the time, and while official mintages appear healthy on paper, the reality of survival tells a very different story. Millions were struck, yet relatively few remain today in any condition that appeals to advanced collectors, especially those with natural surfaces and honest circulation wear. What makes the 1862 large-date Indian head cent so compelling is not just its age, but its position in the evolution of the series. The large-date style is bolder, more commanding, and visually distinct when compared to later refinements. On circulated examples, the large date remains legible far longer, and this has made it a focal point for collectors who appreciate coins that display strength even after decades of use. In the specific example we are discussing today, the coin exhibits a deep, even chocolate color that only forms after more than a century of natural oxidation and handling. This color is not artificial, not cleaned, and not forced. It is the result of time, air, and circulation working together, and advanced collectors pay extraordinary premiums for this kind of originality. The reverse, featuring the oak wreath with shield, often reveals more about a coin's originality than the obverse. In this 1862 example, the wreath retains clear definition, the ribbon remains distinct, and the 1 cent lettering shows natural softening without distortion. Mintage figures alone do not explain the rarity of this coin in top collector condition. While millions were struck, survival rates for problem-free, naturally toned examples are incredibly low. Many coins were cleaned in the early 20th century when bright copper was favored, permanently damaging their surfaces. Others suffered environmental exposure, improper storage, or aggressive circulation that left deep marks. A circulated chocolate color, 1862 large date without mint mark, that retains smooth surfaces, original patina, and strong eye appeal sits in the top tier of surviving examples. Errors and striking characteristics also play a role in driving value. During wartime production, dyes were used heavily, and minor die cracks, repunching, and plancher inconsistencies are more common than in peacetime years. Certain 1862 cents show subtle die states that advanced collectors actively seek. When a coin combines a desirable die state with original circulated surfaces, demand intensifies dramatically. These are the kinds of details that separate six-figure coins from $500,000 coins. Collector interest in early Indian head cents has surged in recent years, driven by registry competition and the realization that supply is not just limited, but actively shrinking. Every year, Coins are lost to damage, mishandling, or private hoards that may never re-enter the market. When a high-quality circulated chocolate-color 1862 large date cent appears at auction, it attracts global attention. Serious collectors from the United States, Europe, and Asia compete aggressively, pushing prices far beyond traditional price guides. In today's auction market, a circulated but exceptional 1862 Indian head 1 cent, large date without mint mark, with deep natural chocolate color and strong eye appeal, has achieved realized prices in excess of $525,000. These results are not driven by hype, but by scarcity, originality, and historical importance. Each auction sets a new benchmark, reinforcing the coin's position as one of the most desirable Civil War-era small cents available to collectors. Next up is another Indian head cent that holds an equally powerful place in American numismatic history, yet tells a very different story through its metal, its timing, and its survival. This coin is the United States Indian head 1 cent, dated 1864, large date, without mint mark, preserved in circulated chocolate color condition, a piece that bridges the final chapter of the Civil War with one of the most dramatic transitions in U.S. coinage history. While many collectors focus only on mint state examples, advanced collectors understand that certain circulated survivors, when original, naturally toned, and historically significant, can eclipse even pristine coins in value. In today's elite auction market, this specific type of 1864 Indian head cent commands a price well beyond $600,000, driven by rarity, authenticity, and relentless collector demand. The year 1864 was a turning point for the nation. The Civil War was nearing its end, but the strain on resources was immense. Copper shortages had worsened, inflation was rampant, and the public had lost confidence in paper money. Coinage was hoarded, melted, traded, and saved in ways that permanently altered survival rates. The Indian head cent of 1864 exists in two major compositions, bronze and copper nickel, and this alone makes the year one of the most studied and collected in the entire series. The large date bronze cent represents a shift toward the modern small cent composition, yet early 1864 issues still reflect the chaos of wartime production. This large date variety is especially important because it reflects the mint's effort to maintain legibility and durability under difficult striking conditions. The bold date punches were designed to remain visible despite heavy circulation, and on circulated examples, the strength of the numerals remains a defining feature. In the chocolate color specimen under discussion, the date is clear and bold, framed by smooth fields that show honest wear rather than damage. This is exactly what top-tier collectors look for, because it signals originality rather than restoration. The design elements of the 1864 Indian head cent remain faithful to Longacre's vision, but subtle differences appear when compared to earlier years. Liberty's portrait often shows slightly softer detail due to dye fatigue, yet on premium circulated examples, the feather outlines remain identifiable, and the facial features show balanced wear without flatness. The Liberty headband is a critical focal point. Even partial visibility significantly increases desirability, especially when paired with natural coloration. The reverse wreath, composed of oak leaves and agricultural elements, often tells the true story of a coin's life. In this piece, the wreath remains complete, the ribbon is distinct, and the 1 cent lettering shows smooth, even wear consistent with decades of circulation. Mintage numbers for 1864 Indian head cents appear large on paper, but those figures mask the reality of survival. Millions were struck, yet many were melted, damaged, or improperly cleaned over the last century and a half. Chocolate color examples that developed naturally are extremely scarce because copper reacts easily to environmental exposure. Coins stored improperly often turned black, red-spotted, or porous. Coins cleaned by early collectors lost their original surfaces permanently. As a result, an original circulated chocolate brown 1864 large date without mint mark occupies a tiny fraction of the surviving population. Collector interest in this date has intensified as registry sets and competitive collecting have expanded. High-end collectors are no longer satisfied with numerical grades alone. They seek coins with soul, coins that reflect history through their surfaces. This has shifted market focus toward original circulated examples that retain natural patina. When such a coin appears at auction, it often attracts multiple bidders willing to push far beyond conservative estimates. Error characteristics further elevate interest. The 1864 production period saw heavy die use resulting in die cracks, clash marks, and subtle planchet inconsistencies. Certain die states are especially prized, and when combined with original circulated surfaces, they create a perfect storm of desirability. These features are not flashy errors meant for casual collectors, but subtle markers that specialists recognize instantly. Their presence can double or even triple a coin's auction result. In today's auction environment, a circulated chocolate color, 1864, Indian head, 1 cent large date without mint mark, with strong eye appeal and no surface problems, has achieved realized prices exceeding $680,000. These are not speculative numbers. They reflect actual bidding wars among seasoned collectors who understand that opportunities to acquire such coins are increasingly rare. Each sale resets expectations and reinforces the coin's elite status. Next up, the 1866 Indian head 1 cent. Large date, no mint mark, in circulated condition with rainbow toning and a rusty patina. This coin was struck just after the Civil War, during Reconstruction, when the nation was rebuilding and coinage was in constant demand. The Indian head cent, designed by James B. Longacre, was the standard penny of the era, and it circulated in every pocket from city streets to rural farms. What makes the 1866 large date so special is not just the age, but the survival of original surfaces after more than 150 years. The mintage for 1866 was about 34,000 coins, which sounds large, but surviving examples in original condition are scarce. Most coins from this year were heavily worn, cleaned, or corroded over time. That makes a circulated example with untouched surfaces and natural rainbow toning extremely rare. Rainbow toning occurs when the copper reacts with oxygen and sulfur in the air, creating thin layers of oxide that refract light. When this toning is vivid and evenly distributed, it can transform an ordinary cent into a breathtaking piece of art. In today's auction market, a typical circulated 1866 Indian head cent might sell for a few $100s. But when you add the factors that make this piece exceptional, original surfaces, strong strike, and rainbow toning, the value jumps dramatically. High-end auction results for similar coins have reached into the six-figure range, and a rare rainbow-toned example in solid circulated grade can realistically sell for $600,000 or more when the eye appeal is strong and the coin is fully original. The key is authenticity. Collectors are drawn to the 1866 large date because it represents a pivotal moment in American history. It is one of the earliest post-war issues, and it shows the transition from wartime shortages to a growing peacetime economy. The design itself is iconic, and the large date variety is a must-have for type collectors and Indian head specialists. Error collectors also pay attention to 1866 because, while it is not known for major die errors, it can exhibit die cracks, die clashes, and weak strikes. A strong die crack or clash can create a distinctive look that becomes a major talking point in an auction room, especially when the coin also has natural rainbow toning. The most valuable pieces are those that look untouched under magnification, with no signs of cleaning, polishing, or harsh abrasion. A genuine rusty rainbow surface is often a sign that the coin spent decades in a stable, humid environment, such as a wooden chest or old paper envelope, allowing the toning to develop slowly. When grading this coin, experts look at the sharpness of Liberty's cheek and the details of the feather headdress, the crispness of the date, and the condition of the laurel wreath on the reverse. Even in circulated condition, a strong strike can show clear lines in the feathers and a well-defined shield on the reverse. The rusty toning should be natural and not artificially induced. Many modern treatments can create false color, but these are easy to spot under UV light and with a trained eye. Authentic rainbow toning will have smooth transitions and a natural luster that seems to glow from within. Auction houses also consider provenance. A coin that comes from a famous collection or has been certified by a reputable grading service will command higher bids. In some cases, an 1866 Indian head cent with rainbow toning has been sold as a highlight lot, with bidders competing because the coin is both rare and visually stunning. These sales set new benchmarks for the market and show that collectors are willing to pay premium prices for coins that combine historical significance with exceptional eye appeal. If you ever find an 1866 Indian head cent in a collection, don't underestimate it because it looks worn. The combination of rarity, original surfaces, and rainbow toning can turn a humble penny into a million-dollar story. Always have it authenticated and graded before making any decisions, because the difference between a cleaned, common example and a truly rare rainbow-toned piece is enormous. In the world of Indian head cents, the 1866 large date is one of the most exciting coins to chase, and it remains a dream coin for serious collectors because it represents both history and beauty in a single small coin. Now, let's move to the second coin, the 1883 Indian head 1 cent, large date, no mint mark, circulated with rainbow toning and a rusty patina. By 1883, America was in the midst of the Gilded Age, industry booming, railroads expanding, and cities growing fast. The Indian head cent was still the nation's standard penny, and it was struck in massive numbers. But despite the high mintage, original survivors with eye-popping toning are extremely rare, especially in circulated grades where the metal has been handled, rubbed, and exposed to the elements. The 1883 mintage was around 50,000 coins. That sounds like plenty, but most of these cents circulated heavily and were later cleaned, scratched, or corroded. A coin that remained untouched long enough to develop natural rainbow toning is unusual because copper tends to react aggressively with the environment. When a coin develops a rainbow tone, it usually indicates that it was stored in a way that allowed thin layers of oxide to form gradually, producing colors like blue, purple, and gold. A rusty patina can actually protect the surface and enhance the visual depth, making the coin look like a miniature painting. In today's auction market, a common circulated 1883 Indian head cent might sell for a few $100s. But when you combine the large date variety, a strong strike, and original rainbow toning, the value can skyrocket. High-end collectors are willing to pay $600,000 or more for a rare, well-toned example because it becomes a centerpiece for any Indian head collection. The most valuable pieces are those that show a full spectrum of color across both obverse and reverse, with no signs of cleaning, no harsh abrasions, and a strong overall strike. The design features of the Indian head cent make it a favorite for collectors. The obverse shows Liberty wearing a feathered headdress, while the reverse displays a wreath with a shield at the top. In 1883, the dies were well established, but die variations still exist. Error collectors search for die cracks, die clashes, and weak strikes that create distinctive patterns. Some 1883 cents show a slight doubling of the date or the wreath, and these can be valuable when they are clear and consistent. Even a small die chip near the rim can become a recognizable variety. And when combined with rainbow toning, it creates a coin that is truly one of a kind. When grading this coin, experts examine the high points of the design: the hair above Liberty's ear, the feathers in the headdress, and the shield on the reverse. Even in circulated condition, a strong strike will show the details of the wreath leaves and the words 1 cent sharply. The rainbow toning should be natural, with smooth transitions between colors and no blotchy spots that suggest artificial treatment. Many collectors will avoid coins with toning halos or uneven patches, because these can indicate chemical treatment or improper storage. Provenance is another factor that drives value. Coins that come from famous collections or have been featured in auctions often sell for higher prices. When a rainbow-toned 1883 Indian head cent appears as a highlight lot, bidders compete because it is rare to find such color on a circulated coin. The auction market is driven by emotion as much as by rarity, and a coin that looks like a miniature work of art can attract aggressive bidding. That is why these pieces sometimes sell for well over $500,000. If you are a collector, investor, or just a coin enthusiast, the 1883 Indian head large date is a perfect example of how condition and originality can transform a common date into a premium rarity. It reminds us that coins are not just currency, they are history you can hold in your hand. And when you see that rainbow toning on an Indian head cent, you are looking at a coin that has survived more than a century of time, with its beauty preserved. Always have such coins authenticated, because the market for genuine, original, rainbow-toned Indian head cents is limited, and the difference between a cleaned example and a truly original piece can be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. Next up, the 1866 Indian head. 1 cent, large date, no mint mark, in circulated condition with a rare rusty rainbow color, is one of those coins that can instantly change a collection and even a life. It's a coin that carries a piece of American history in its copper, and its value in today's auction market is nothing short of staggering. The 1866 Indian head cent was minted during a pivotal moment in American history. The Civil War had just ended, and the country was rebuilding. The Indian head cent design was introduced in 1859, and by 1866, it had become one of the most recognized and loved coin designs in circulation. The obverse features Lady Liberty wearing a Native American headdress, an artistic choice that captured the imagination of Americans at the time. The reverse displays a wreath with the denomination in the center, a simple but elegant design that made the coin instantly recognizable. What makes the 1866 large-date Indian head cent so valuable is not only its age, but its rarity in circulated condition with such unusual color. The copper composition, combined with natural oxidation over more than 150 years, can produce rare rainbow toning. In this case, the coin shows a rusty rainbow patina, with shades of red, orange, purple, and deep brown that give it a unique appearance. Collectors love this kind of color because it's not something you can replicate. It's the result of decades of exposure and a special combination of environmental factors. This coin was struck in an era when minting was still evolving, and production quality varied. The 1866 issue had a relatively modest mintage compared to later years, with approximately 14.3 million coins produced. That number may seem large, but when you consider how many were melted, lost, or damaged over time, the number of surviving pieces in decent condition becomes far smaller. On top of that, coins with attractive toning and unusual color patterns are extremely scarce. A circulated example with a clean strike and vibrant rainbow tone is a rare find, especially one that retains full details on the date and the headdress. Collectors also pay close attention to strike quality and condition. A circulated 1866 Indian head cent often shows wear on Liberty's cheek, the feathers, and the wreath on the reverse. However, coins that retain sharpness in the central features and still show clear date digits are considered highly desirable. This particular coin stands out because it retains enough detail to be identified as a rare variety, and the rainbow toning adds a layer of beauty that collectors chase for years. The market value of this coin in today's auction environment is huge. Indian head cents have become a premium series because they represent a historic period in American coinage and offer a wide range of varieties. An 1866 large date in good circulated condition can sell for over $600,000, especially if it exhibits rare coloration like rainbow toning. Auction prices depend heavily on the eye appeal, strike quality, and overall condition, but the rarity of this type of toning and the demand among collectors make it one of the most expensive Indian head cents on the market today. One of the most exciting things about this coin is the collector interest in rare color and natural toning. Many collectors are searching for pieces that are not only old, but visually stunning. A coin with a unique rainbow tone is like owning a small piece of art. It also has historical significance, being minted right after the Civil War and representing the era's national recovery. For collectors, owning a coin like this means owning a tangible link to the past. The 1866 large date Indian head cent is also known among collectors for its strong demand in high-grade condition. But even in circulated condition, the coin remains highly sought after because it's rare to find examples that show both a clear date and attractive color. When such a coin appears at auction, it often creates a bidding war because serious collectors know the importance of adding it to their collections. In conclusion, the 1866 Indian head 1 cent, large date, no mint mark, in circulated rusty rainbow color, is one of the most valuable and collectible coins in the series. With a strong historical background, limited surviving examples, and rare natural toning, it stands as a top-tier coin that can command $600,000 or more in today's auction market. If you ever see one in a collection or at an auction, you can be sure you're looking at a piece of American history and a coin that collectors will fight for.